Let me tell you about what's happening with Indonesia's new president and why his first trip abroad has everyone worried. This is a story about power, personality, and what happens when a tough-talking leader turns out to be, well, not quite what people expected. Let's start with Prabowo Subianto. For years, this guy campaigned as Indonesia's strongman, the kind of leader who would stand up to foreign powers and protect Indonesia's interests. He ran for president 3 times, telling everyone he was the tough guy Indonesia needed. But what happened on his first foreign trip as president has left a lot of Indonesians scratching their heads. Just 3 weeks after taking office, 3 weeks, Prabowo jets off on this massive world tour. Now, normally when a new president travels abroad, it's carefully planned, every detail worked out months in advance. But this was different. The schedule was changing while he was already in the air. It's like booking a vacation and figuring out where you're staying after you've already left home. Let me show you what I mean. Right after winning the election, Prabowo tried to set up a meeting with Donald Trump at Mar-a-Lago. There's this video, it's actually kind of wild, where you see this 73-year-old president of the world's 4th most populous country acting like a starstruck teenager. He's telling Trump he'll fly anywhere, literally anywhere, just to meet him. And Trump? He basically just compliments Prabowo's English and moves on. But the really big story happens in Beijing. This is where things start to get messy. Xi Jinping, China's leader, knows exactly how to play this. He rolls out the red carpet, gives Prabowo the royal treatment, which, by the way, Prabowo loves because he claims he's got royal blood. And then something remarkable happens. Prabowo agrees to this joint statement that basically gives away Indonesia's position on the South China Sea. Now let me explain why this is such a big deal. For years, Indonesia has been saying there isn't even a dispute with China over the South China Sea. It's been their way of saying, hey, this is our territory, end of discussion. But in one meeting, Prabowo not only admits there's a dispute, but agrees to share resources with China. It's like someone claiming there's no question about who owns their house, then suddenly agreeing to let their neighbor use their kitchen. But wait, it gets better. Indonesian diplomats, the people who actually know about foreign policy, tried to warn him. They saw this coming. But Prabowo's foreign minister, who's basically just his former assistant with no diplomatic experience, brushed them off. The situation was so bad that when the White House was asked about it, they didn't even criticize the deal directly. Instead, they basically said, hey, maybe ask your own experts about this. That's diplomatic speak for what were you thinking? And here's the thing about Prabowo. He's surrounded himself with yes men, military guys, family members, people who won't tell him when he's making a mistake. Even his own brother can't keep up. At the COP conference in Baku, his brother announces one plan about reducing coal use. Then Prabowo shows up at the G20 in Rio and announces something completely different, that Indonesia's going to quit coal entirely by 2040. Remember, this is a country where 2/3 of the electricity comes from coal. It's like announcing you're going to stop using cars in a country with no trains or buses. The really fascinating part about all of this is that nobody knows if Prabowo actually means what he says. He's like that friend who always agrees with whatever the last person said. When he's with Chinese leaders, he's all about their vision for the world. When he's with American officials, he's bragging about his American military training. All my training is American, sir, he tells Trump, like a kid showing off his report card. So what does this tell us about Indonesia's future? Well, it shows us what happens when campaign rhetoric meets reality. Prabowo sold himself as this tough negotiator who would stand up to foreign powers, but in practice, he's turning out to be something very different. The question isn't whether he'll drive a hard bargain, it's whether anyone can trust what he agrees to in the first place. This is more than just a story about one leader's awkward first trip abroad. It's about what happens when personality trumps policy, when experience is replaced by loyalty, and when the tough talk of campaigning meets the complex reality of international politics. For Indonesia, one of the world's largest democracies and a crucial player in Asia, The stakes couldn't be higher. One thing's for sure, this isn't the tough-talking strongman Indonesians thought they were getting. Instead, they've got a president who seems more interested in impressing foreign leaders than standing up to them. And in the high-stakes world of international politics, that could be a very expensive personality trait indeed.